minute or so for public comment if you haven't signed up. Oh, okay. All right, Ben, you ready? Yes. All right, I'll call the meeting to order. It's 5 p.m. on July 8th. It's been a while since we've had one of these meetings, so welcome back, everyone. It looks like we're missing Bob Beck, right? He's online. Oh, he's online. Perfect.
I'm here.
Everyone, right? Because we have one short. Yep. All right. So moving on to approval of minutes from April. I know it's been a while, but I will entertain a motion to approve minutes from April. I have a motion and a second. All in favor for approval? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, those have been approved. And keep it on moving. Public comments. Looks like we have 4 in person and then 0 online. So we'll start out with in person. Just a reminder, we'll have 3 minutes per person, up to 30 minutes maximum. Looks like we won't hit that. I'll give you a little wave for something if you're starting to come up to 3 minutes, and then we'll have to move on to the next person. Looks like we have Randy Johnson. Randy, welcome. Hi.
I guess you're actually here so I could at least introduce myself because you hear me on the phone all the time. I did come up to I think open house way back when, but the staff, but not to you guys. And I write down the airplanes I hear flying over Levere's or close, and I have all my numbers for open house. I'll try to be quick because I have a lot of information I'll do. I will mention I have been having many more flying lower and faster, so a little bit louder. Although I haven't been able to complain because I've been busy with Centennial. Shoot here, I gotta get it right. In May, because we did a meeting, I wrote down 350 mostly training, 52 mostly training planes, 215 from Centennial, 175 from Rocky Mountain. I submitted, I think I did the wrong one first. I did. Okay. I submitted 116 complaints to Centennial and 13 to Rocky Mountain. April, I had 424 airplanes total. Got it wrote down. 186 from Centennial, 150 from Rocky Mountain. I submitted 84 complaints to Centennial and 21 to Rocky Mountain. And then last month, I had 459 planes total. I wrote down. These are training planes or in props, not jets or any other kind of planes, or helicopters. 234 from Centennial, 142 from Rocky Mountain, 118 complaints to Centennial, and 8 from Rocky Mountain. So I've been sort of busy with Centennial. They've been turning in purposely flying over, so that's got me hyped. In that respect, I think it's getting better a little bit, but there's still plenty. And I think that's all. I don't know how much more time, but I just wanted to.
About 30 seconds left, but
I need everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. All right. Next, I have Carla Johnson.
Hi there. Can I ask, is there anybody here from Rocky Mountain Flight School? Anybody here from FAA? Are you saying yes? You are? Okay. So I'm a engineer, scientist person, so I'm into data quite a bit. My house is right over the middle of all the flight lines that leave the airport on a regular basis. I've been working with Ben Miller and with Eric Dahl and Rocky Mountain Flight School quite a bit. I've called them up. You guys have been talking and being incredibly nice. Communication is amazingly important in this particular issue here. I represent about 300 plus families So I'm the spokesperson for that. I bring back information that you guys give me and tell the families. They disseminate it. And I have learned a lot of things by these conversations that I think do make a difference to some people. I have summarized what I think is probably the easiest, most straightforward way to solve all these problems for everybody. And I know it sounds incredibly simplistic, but to me, if I ran an airport, if I was in touch with the FAA, I would force this or demand it. And that is that you're driving everybody freaking crazy. And when you guys do these three things, you drive almost nobody crazy. So it seems like the solution is really straightforward. The first one is the zip line. Everybody, I don't know which your tower does, but I would say over my house, I've been measuring it, every 45 to 60 to 90 seconds, there's a plane that goes over my house. I do use, just like everybody else, flight radar. I have, probably 700 pictures of it right now, where there are maybe 8 or 9 planes in a row. Boom, boom, boom. My house starting at sometimes 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. So there's no way that anybody in my neighborhood, I live in the Fairview Estates neighborhood, can sleep in the morning with the windows open. It's impossible. We do not have summers anymore. We don't have any way to sit outside and take calls. We can't work at home. It is incessant. So that nonstop, how often they leave the runway. I know you got to get them out. I know you have a flight school. It's not just your flight school. You've got a bunch of them. So the deal is, if you're going to launch that many airplanes, here are the solutions. A, you're at 5,600 feet right here. You're already at 5,600 feet. My house is at 5,450. By the time a lot of your planes, excuse me, get over my house, they're anywhere between 600 and 900 feet above my house. You've got 13 miles to go to get to my house. You can get to 2,000 feet above my land surface, which is, we're a noise sensitive area. And the FAA rules are 150C or whatever it is, that we're a noise sensitive area. You should be 2,000 feet above land surface. Most of the people, after I've talked to Rocky Mountain Flight School, which you guys are amazing, you've really been responsive, because I see every one of your planes going. If it's at 7,400 feet, we barely hear you. And if you vary your flight path from east to west, even a little bit, we don't hear you. There were about 300 families who are not complaining during these flights. So the people who seem to have the biggest issues. Okay, and I think the next person is Doug, right?
Yes.
That's my husband. Do you want to talk, or do you want me to take that?
Well, I'll just say something right now.
No, we'll finish.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So the answer is get to the right height, get up to the elevation, don't be lazy. I mean, there was a huge, I don't have it at the top of my head what kind of plane it was, but it was a jet that came in, and I clocked it 500 feet above my house, a jet coming in, huge jet. So that's not okay. There has to be some sort of communication from the tower or whatever, which is, as you're coming in, this is when you can get to whatever elevations. And the other thing too is just vary the path. I came in and I showed Ben what the housing density was, what the population density was. If you go to the west, there's almost no houses. If you go to the east, you're either going down a big road with a lot of industry, or you're going over open space with lakes. What is the deal? Just go a little east or west.
And we're at time.
Can I ask a clarifying question from you? I don't know where Fairview Estates is, or your neighborhood.
It's
Give me
on
the cross
76th Street. So what you guys,
50, you said?
76.
Okay.
So the
Yeah.
pilots are told to go to Home Depot, turn
Right.
right, go down McCaslin, follow 76th Street, and then, from that point on, they veer off to whatever they're gonna do. Either
So you're kind of north of Home Depot, is that what you're saying?
It's like midway between here and the striped fields, or midway between Home Depot and the striped fields.
Got it, okay, thanks.
It's like Davidson Mesa area.
Yeah, see, I don't know all the names of the neighborhoods, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Okay, cool,
straight over my house. But the most important thing is that we are on a mesa, so we're high elevation. You guys are not flying, and it's mostly planes that don't have tail numbers. It's private owners who probably are taking people out training them, but they're not part of the flight school. So the flight schools are doing great as far as I'm concerned.
So does the airport communicate with the FAA directly about the issues about noise and elevation? Yes, no? Does anybody at the airport communicate directly to the FAA?
I want to answer you. We generally don't have discourse back and forth for public comment. But yeah, there is discussion with the FAA.
So the FAA determined the routes out of the airport, correct?
That's correct.
You guys don't have that control.
That's correct.
So what would you suggest to us to be able to communicate to the FAA? I know that the mayors of 6 local cities went to Washington. Does anybody know the result of that meeting? Nothing?
No, I don't know the result. I know probably best course is your political representatives, your mayors.
Yeah, Chair, I'll just jump in here. I think if you want to have a discourse with airport staff, I just recommend you reach out to them outside of the meeting. And the goal with that is just to make sure that we're getting through public comment and getting through the board's business. So
And what kind of staff would you suggest? What level of staff or what kind
Ben
of?
or I will be happy to talk to you.
Okay, so I'll find out about you guys at the end of the meeting. It just seems to me like it would be so simply resolved if the FAA would look at a map and figure out where the least population is. And then who is it? My last question is, who controls or punishes those planes that do not follow the rules? Who are the outlaws? Because they are the ones that are disturbing the neighborhoods the most. Who has control over that?
We'd be happy to talk after the meeting, if you'd like.
After the meeting? We can't know that during the meeting?
this is a public comment, and public comment is meant for you all to give feedback to the board. And again, to keep through the board business, we need to make sure that we give everybody an
All right,
opportunity.
I understand.
I'd be happy to talk to you about.
Okay, thank you.
I thank you, Doug. Next we have Hugh. Sorry, I didn't read your last name. Hugh. Britt, there you go.
Hi, thank you, Britton. Thanks for having me back. Appreciate the opportunity. I live that way, a mile and a half in the countryside neighborhood of Westminster. And I don't have anything super specific to say, but just to throw my voice behind everyone else's that is concerned about the near constant noise pollution, lead pollution, which is sort of being fixed, and just the general concern about small planes crashing in big neighborhoods, densely populated neighborhoods. And it's been brought up before, people from Superior talked about it, and so forth. This morning, kind of follow off of these guys. This morning I had flights over my house I was lucky, I had them over every 2 minutes. I had trouble talking to my wife in the driveway. We're trying to get the camper ready for the weekend, all this stuff. And then I was glad to see the thunderstorms because everything stopped and it was actually noticeable peace and quiet at my house, around my house, my family, and my neighborhood. The other thing, I guess, for just talking in the wind here or whatever, but the other thing I would like to know is, what's the status of the Part 150 noise study? You guys were supposed to have a meeting. I understood it was going to be public sometime in June. That was canceled. Apparently they're supposed to have a public one. I don't know, that looks a little weird, like we were gonna have a meeting and talk about this, the board and everybody, and then it didn't happen.
That was partly my fault. I went on vacation and then we also had more vacation, so we canceled the meeting, but we should have a follow-up and we'll definitely discuss that during the meeting for the 150.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, and the last one I have. Austin. Perfect, thank you.
Yes, thank you for taking time to listen to me. I just want to make sure and let my disagreement be known about my understanding is the FAA is requesting that the data for Part 150 come from the year of 2025, which had a third less flight ops than the year of 2024, which my understanding is what the contractors originally created the Part 150 using that data. I spoke with Ben Miller at one of your open houses and was assured that it would be year 2024. I spoke with the contractors down at the Interlochen At your first open house regarding Part 150, I was assured it'd be the year of 2024. That is, if you're trying to use a year that because of, you know, reduced air traffic control staff, possibly a lot of weather that reduced flight and other anomalies that created a just over 200,000 year flight ops versus a virtually 300,000 flight ops. That's 200, just over 200,000 for the year 2025, 300,000, just shy of 300,000 for the year 2024. Using a year that's a third less and projecting that forward as the future is just not right. That's manipulating numbers, and that's not a forward-looking representation of Part 150. So, thank you.
Thank you, Austin. All right, that's everyone I have on the list in person. Do we have anyone online? No one online. No one online. Grant, do we have you in person?
Can't check your history and see if it's working.
That is the end of public comment. Thank you everyone for speaking. We'll move on to business items.
Okay, so I know we had a conversation about a couple months ago about learning about airfield movement training and how drivers on the airfield or how airport users receive training on how to navigate the airport. Kind of both movement and non-movement area related training. So they can learn how to use runways, and taxiways, and aprons. So for that purpose, I'll introduce Andrew Nurse here, who's our airport operations manager. This is his first time at one of our airport advisory boards. He recently took over the job as airport operations manager, and this will be his opportunity to talk to you, meet you, and talk to you about airfield movement area training. Take it away, Andrew.
All right, good to meet some of you, see some of you again, work with you a bunch and other aspects. So Eric kind of hit on why we're here. Just another quick recent incident that happened out at LaGuardia between an aircraft landing and an aircraft fire truck or airport fire truck. Just brings it top of mind of why we do what we're doing, how to keep people safe out there. So per our airport certification manual, FAA regs say the airport must limit access to movement and safety areas to only activities necessary for airport operations. And those personnel who access those areas need to be trained. So we have an airport certification manual. It's blessed by the FAA. We go through our curriculum with them every year. They look at all of our testing that we do, all the incidents we've had, go over pros, cons, things we can do better. We have, again, listed up there people who are approved to operate in the movement area, mostly airport personnel, firefighters, the FAA's tech ops folks who are the ones that work on the FAA-owned nav aids, and then some tug operators from FBOs, maintenance shops, flight schools, if you will, just to get aircraft around from point to point on the airport. And just a quick note on why the FAA wants us to do it. There's what's called a vehicle pedestrian deviation, a VPD. What we're trying to do is avoid this happening. So a VPD, it's anytime a vehicle or a person enters a movement area without permission. So it's a violation of their protected space that they're out there doing. The airport is responsible for making sure that that doesn't happen. If it does happen, we're taking appropriate steps to correct it, ensure it doesn't happen again. We average here, it's 1 point something every year. I did the math on it. So somewhere between 1 and 2 a year. It's usually something on taxiway alpha with close proximity to the FBO ramps, the flight school ramps, and all that. So every time we get one of those VPDs, the FAA will send us a list, and the FAA answer a bunch of questions, say what happened, how did it happen, and then again, what are you going to do to prevent it from happening next time? So that's kind of the airport steps that we take towards correcting it. Put some consequences for a badge holder, kind of progressive, say it's someone who has a badge through us, immediately revoke the badge. They have to go through retraining, subsequent offenses, there's a fee. At a certain point, we just pull the badge and say, we can't trust you to be on the airfield anymore. For an external person, in our airport emergency plan, there's a section in there about unlawful interference with operations, and it cites some charges that can be pursued against a person. It's called unlawful conduct on public property. Haven't had to do one of those in my time here, so. But that'd be what we fall back on to make sure we're enforcing that on the general public outside of just our airport staff, employees, operators. So we have a few categories of training here. So not just in the movement area, but our non-movement areas. So that's the ramps and the aprons, everything back in the T hangars, the port ports. Anyone who's got a hangar back in there, works for business back there that needs to come through the gate into the air operations area. So that's our non-movement area, and then it kind of goes up from there. So a restricted movement area gets you a certain portion of the movement area. It's just tactically alpha. Everything north allows you to move aircraft back and forth from, say, the east side to the west side of the airfield. Full movement area is a full blessing. So that's for emergency personnel, for our airport personnel, and the FAA tech ops folks who have to work on the nav aids all over the airfield. And then just I'll hit a slide on our airport ARF training and some additional airport staff training we do. Just in addition to that, that also hits on communication and safety and all that out in the airfield. So let's say the lowest level, the most common thing we have is a non-movement area badge. So it's the ones with the purple stripe. It's the ones we've got quite a few of those. Every T hangar tenant, every friend, spouse of all those people. They'll have a badge, gets you through the gate, go to your hangar, park a parking spot in your hangar, go on your way, go flying. It's a test that goes with a video, goes over the basics of operating vehicles safely around aircraft, some speed limits, proper gate use, that kind of stuff. Next tier up from that, we get into our restricted and then the full movement area training. Restricted as the name applies, it doesn't give you the full thing, it's just a certain portion of the movement area. The full movement area, as the name applies, gives you access to all areas of the movement area, anything the tower is controlling. The test and all that for these badges, this tier of training, everything starts with the non-movement training. So that same video, that same test that everyone else does just to get through a gate, you get to do that. That's step one. And then past that, there's a bunch of self-study material. There's a video you have to watch. There's a practical driving test we'll do with each person. We go over tower communications. We have 3 and then a practical driving test of 4 tests they have to go through. Fill in the blank. There's short answers, so we're capturing people in different ways, making sure that it's not they can just memorize something and get it right on a test, that they actually truly know and comprehend the information. And then every one of those badges, everyone who has access for the movement area has to go through an annual recurrent test as well. So hitting on the same topics every year. So you can't just get it once and then just come back. Through some sample test questions up there. The map is a big one. Just all the points all over the airfield. So as you're out there talking to tower and they say, they reference Alpha 4, they reference Delta 6, you can identify that on a map. You know what they're talking about. You know where they're talking about. You know, they say there's a plane holding for you at Taxiway Gulf. I know that you know where Taxiway Gulf is. And then, especially with the crash out of LaGuardia, our airport ARF personnel, so aircraft rescue firefighting personnel training, those folks do all those same things. And then in addition to that, each one of them go to a initial 40-hour training. It's a certified training center through the FAA. It's up in Casper, Wyoming. It's a week-long class. One of the primary things that you're learning there, one of the key points that you're hitting on is airport and aircraft familiarization, which goes over communication, airfield signage, nav aids, what's what. Anytime an incident gets called out, towers using whatever reference points they can see, what they know. They might say at the glide slope of 30 right, and our firefighters need to know exactly where that is in the heat of the moment. So when they say that's where the incident happened, that's where we go. We go on top of that, so in-house training with us, with our staff here, so you learn about our trucks, our responses, how everything works with us at this airport specifically. Each one of those personnel also do an annual live burn. We have 2 recurrent tests through the year, an annual drill we do every May, annual AEP review, airport emergency plan review we go through every May as well. Gives everyone a chance to refresh themselves on what the book says and making sure what we write down we say we're going to do matches what we're doing in the field. listed a bunch of extra trainings and stuff we do for our airport certification manual. Mostly to note, we have a bunch of other things. They also hit on communications, like our snow and ice control plan training, do it every October. One of the key elements of that is how do we communicate the tower, what we're doing, general radio communications, how we're keeping the nav aids safe. So all these things kind of circle back to communication safety on the airfield. We have a lot of methods of training we use, so we're not just relying on one video or just on the job training. It's a mix of everything, hands-on. I mentioned the drills we do, practical driving tests, self-studies out of manuals, PowerPoints, videos, all that just to feed in to make sure someone's well-educated, gets well-rounded education on the stuff. And just a few extra additional safety procedures and meetings to note. For procedures out in the field, all of our staff, when they're doing inspections on the airfield, they're driving their vehicles around. They're always going against the flow of traffic. It gives us a chance so we can see an aircraft with a landing light and they can see our headlights. And we're both looking at each other rather than driving in the same direction. It's increasing the chance if there was a conflict, we're all going to see each other. We have a local air traffic control policy, so we don't cross midfield on Bravo or 321. Just that being the most critical part. Aircraft's moving fast. They don't have the ability to swerve, divert, slam on the brakes. Same with us. We can be on either end of the field. It's deemed the safest spot we could be. So we're not using Bravo. It's also our hotspots for our map with the FAA. Get into that on the next one for the local runway safety action team. So we try to address any hotspots, any known issues, and make sure we can find a corrective action that helps make it better moving forward. Back to procedures real quick. On our top alert, so an alert 3, it's the worst. So say a plane crashes, that's considered an alert 3. It's on the field, on the airport. All aircraft stop flying. They're kept in the air. Everyone on the ground stops moving. So emergency vehicles heading out to an emergency aren't having conflict with airplanes flying, moving, whatever. They give us a few sorted out, everything kind of set, and we can start relinquishing control of the field back to the air traffic control tower. And then one other meeting just to hit on with our whole air traffic control tower manager. We were doing bi-monthly meetings with them, just going over any safety incidents that happened over that period. Just keeps it more top of mind rather than waiting for the local runway safety action meeting. You're just constantly going through it, making sure that we're finding solutions in real time rather than waiting till May of next year to hit on something that just happened over the summer. That's all I have there. Thanks for the time. Question?
Yeah, I do have a question, sorry. And I may be partially responsible for you being bamboozled into doing this because I brought this up to Ben and to Eric. So I apologize, but this goes back to that horrible LaGuardia crash, right? And so Greg, you tell me if I'm wrong, but I think every pilot from the early student pilot training is taught that, let's say you're cleared to a taxiway. You're cleared on Alpha, and you repeat back the clearance. You're cleared on Alpha, and the first thing you do is you look left and you look right, and you say clear left, clear right, right? And a student's going to do that. Any pilot will even say it out loud by themselves. You're cleared to take off. Final approach is cleared, runway's cleared, and then you go. So you're cleared to go into the taxiway or the runway. You look, and then you go. And there's a school of thought out there, and you know, it's going to take the NTSB 2 years to figure this out, but there's a school of thought out there is that the firefighters at LaGuardia were cleared to go onto that runway, and they were angled, right? So they would have to really turn around to look. But did they look, or did they just pull out? Because a non-pilot would hear, I'm cleared to go. That's like a green light. And go. And my specific, and maybe it's a little minutia, is are we training the movement area ops that just because you're cleared onto a runway or a taxiway doesn't mean, you know, laser focus and go like hell. It's look both ways first. And that's why I brought this up. And I was curious to know if you know if we specifically trained that minutia
We definitely do, yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Obviously, I don't know what happened in LaGuardia.
Yeah, I don't either. That's a school of
But,
thought out there.
yeah, so what we do here and what's different here, maybe versus LaGuardia, we have CCAP. So there's hours where tower is not in control and you're out there and you're relying solely on yourself and what you see and what you hear. So in addition, obviously, yeah, you're checking every time you cross anything, but we're building into our employees so they can't just rely on tower because for 8 hours a day or currently 10 hours a day, tower's not there. So you got to be watching. They're building a mental picture in their head so they know there's 3 planes in the pattern. I see that guy. There's 2 guys behind him. Once he goes, I have to wait 2 more to go. I got room to cross. So that's constant. Yeah, absolutely.
So do you do any responder training, CPR, et cetera?
We do CPR training for our aircraft rescue firefighters. So all of them go through, it's a biannual CPR training for the Red Cross. Yep.
Question, Andrew. Correct me if I'm wrong. Everything you just described is a process that's been in place here for some time. There's been no changes to any of these procedures in recent history. And there's no plans to change any of them in the near future, correct?
I'd say they are constantly evolving. So like a test or procedure, something we set 10 years ago is probably not the same.
Nothing in particular.
We haven't had anything huge that's made us say, okay, we have to address that problem right there. I think that's probably fair to say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just curiosity, runway inspections, how often do you have to do those?
We have to do 1 during daylight hours and 1 during nighttime hours.
So basically 2.
So 2, we have kind of 3 shifts, so we do 3 a day.
Oh, yeah.
So 1 during the day, 1 in the evening, and then 1 overnight. And then plus whatever else comes up. So
Yeah,
that's the minimum. They might do it twice a day, but at a minimum, we're already exceeding it by at least 1.
Any other questions? Perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. Next topic we're going to talk about today is airport wayfinding. The airport has a number of wayfinding signs around the airport. They are showing their age. And so our discussion today kind of revolves around what is wayfinding, where are those signs, and what do we do with them? So let's start with wayfindings. Are signs, and where are signs located? What do those signs say? What do they look like? What kind of message are we trying to convey on the wayfinding signs that we have here? We roughly have 4 different types of signs here at the airport. Some of the larger ones are our monument signs, like on Airport Way and Metro, there's a monument sign, Metro, and there is also a monument sign. We have some business location signs, which are like just lists of businesses in the area. And then we have private signs, like a sign that might be on your leasehold. It says the name of your business. Like I said, many of our signs are showing their age and require either a replacement, a refresh, or just removal. And our discussion today is really about what do we do with them? Are we going to go for it? Are we going to figure out how will we dispose of these signs? How will we refresh them? Do we want to try to do a new branding initiative with these signs? But really, we're kind of guided by the county here. All of our signs have to comply with county policies. All signs on buildings have to comply with county signage policies. So like if you have a hangar that has like the name of your business on it, there are county policies that apply to how big that sign can be. I presume same way for off-premise signs. Those signs too also have different regulations with the county that would be covered. Next slide. Many of the signs we're going to be talking about today are all owned by the airport. Like I said, there are private signs located on leaseholds, but many of the ones that we're talking about, the monument signs, the general facility type signs, business listings, we have about 20 of these signs that we're going to be kind of walking through today, what they look like, what's on them, just kind of refresh you where they all are kind of located. Next slide. Here's a rough drawing of where all of the different wayfinding signs are. We have the monument sign, the general information sign, and 9 listing signs. I did say we had 2 monument signs, to correct myself. 1 monument sign, the general listing sign there, and then the 9 listing signs. Go for it. So the next couple slides are just going to be locations on the airport where these signs are, how many spaces are on that sign, and how many we have used. we generally charge our tenants for a location on a sign. So like in theory, the people that have paid to be on these signs. So West Tanker Base, right here at the tanker, 12 spaces, 7 are used. Next. And 120th on West Corporate Way, 36 spaces, 35 are used. Next. This is the same general location, a little bit of a smaller sign, 14 spaces, 11 of them are currently in use. Corporate Way, 14 spaces, 13 of them have been used. Here we have a sign kind of next to Wafa, Haliquest, and McGair. This is probably one of the ones that is sitting across from the monument sign on Metro Avenue. This has got 36 spaces, 13 of them are used. Next. Terminal and West Side Airport Way. This is more down by Rocky Mountain Flight School. 26 spaces, 15 of them are used. The Burns Pub is a restaurant we have on Metro. It has a sign there, 12 spaces, 8 used, all in the same kind of design. 2 big cylinder concrete tubes and the swatch plates. Terminal has the main pillar in front of the terminal, about 18 spaces. 7 of those have not advertisements, but location signs on them. Our long-term parking lot is different than all the other signs we have here at the airport. It roughly just says long-term parking and then just kind of an advertisement. And we're kind of thinking about how does this sign work in design? Does it need to be redone, removed? What does it really look like?
When did that sign go in?
I don't know. Ben, do you have any words of wisdom of when that sign went in?
That's been there a long time.
Predates Andrew and I.
Yeah, long before.
It's been here a minute.
Institutional knowledge.
Does it get used? Not at JSX?
Though we do still see some people rent daily parking spots at the long-term parking lot, not nearly as much as when JSX was here, but it's not ever empty. Next. And then here is the general information sign or general facility sign we have here at the airport. The front's got 5 spaces used and the back has 5 spaces and 4 of those are used. And then the monument sign, it did get hit by a truck relatively recently, so that sign is not there at the moment. So it's a good time to think about what does that sign kind of look like in the future, because I believe we have to replace the entire brick and everything as part of the replacement for this sign. So we're in repair and refresh, and then there are no businesses listed on this sign. It's just the airport, Rocky Mountain Metropolitan Airport.
Who hit the sign and are they gonna pay for it?
Their insurance is paying for it. Just some guy in a truck.
Okay.
I saw that.
Probably an important text message he was reading in his defense, right? Yeah.
I did not see it happen, so I can't say how or what happened, but it was a truck that hit the sign. We did get some cost quotes to look at our current signage we have, and it's about $36,000 to just take our existing infrastructure and paint it and replace the panels. It's about $60,000 to replace those signs and make them into a more modern sign, but yet not like fancy wayfinding signs you might call it, like a strip mall, or not strip mall, but like I know Flatirons Mall's going through a whole refresh right now, a whole new rebranding. It won't be like that. This is just $60,000 to bring them up to maybe more modern standards and color palettes. Cost is a concern for this, but it's not really the controlling factor for this. I think probably the next slide. Really, the controlling factor here is, do we need these signs? Do they add value to our users? Do they add value to our visitors? Do we require businesses to build their own compliant signs? So rather than us having the airport having these off-premise kind of signs that has all these business listings, do we just tell our businesses at the airport, get your own signs and make sure they're county compliant? Or do we not spend 36 or 60,000 and do we think about an investment in a more brand aware, more decorative listing space? And really that comes down to what we're here today to talk about is what level of what level of business listing sign is necessary based on our airport layout, the modern GPS navigation, online maps. Is there still a space for these, or do they serve more of an art landscape? And I think that's the last slide. So I think I'll leave it here and allow time to talk a little bit about wayfinding signs.
Do both the refresh and the replace have the same expected life before it needs to be done again?
I would say no. I would say the refresh would be a shorter lifespan. We do not have specifics, but like the refresh is just a new paint job, new panels. The more modern would actually be an effort to actually go in there and replace the actual paneling, replace the signage. So we get another lifeline out of that, but not like not the useful life of a brand new sign, but not as short as just going in there and repainting.
What would it look like if we went towards the refresh area? What kinds of things can we expect?
Well, that's a good question. I think that the answer for that is it kind of depends on feedback from you. We would probably think about what that could look like for us on staff level, and we could come back to you and say, here's kind of what we're thinking for like a brand new branding initiative for those signs, and we can ask and seek your input about what you're thinking. We're not trying to do it we're not trying to be expensive about it, but we want to make sure that the signs we're building have purpose.
The way I'm thinking about it right now is probably just, the basic stuff, because everybody's got their phones and they can find where they're going. They usually put it in there and have a map, but it is nice to have some basic signage so people that come on the airport and they're not familiar, it kind of helps guide them a little bit. So if I were making a decision, I would probably lean towards the cheaper option of it and then let people use their phones as another guidance versus making something really fancy and that they may not even use very well.
And I just, as long as it's welcoming and allows visitors, because, right, most of the,
I think it's kind of handy to have the signs
Yeah,
there. I
rather
really
than
do.
have your head down on the phone and then you hit the monument sign with your truck
Right.
while you're trying to find.
No, I
where
think the
Rocky
signs
Mountain
are a good
Flight
idea, and I think
Yeah.
I think it's neat to have a general where to go, but I don't think investing a lot of money into them
School.
is
Yeah, I
the
agree.
greatest idea if they can still, use other sources too.
I think a key decision for us is it's still important to have individual businesses be able to be listed on those signs. And if so, if we're doing a refresh, do we end up working out a program where they pay for that? Because otherwise, everyone will want to be on it, and we'll work that out.
I mean, as a business owner, I'd be willing to pay, some money. I don't want to pay a lot, but I want to pay some money to have my sign on there, and so people can know where to go to when they come into the airport. I wouldn't have an issue with that.
Every place I've ever been, I was always forced to have my own signage by law or by city decree or whatever it was, county. And that's anywhere around the world too. That was even in China. So I was always expected to provide and pay for that on my own.
John, you have thoughts?
On their own buildings, they can do what they want as long as it's county compliant, right?
Yeah, that's correct. There are size constraints, things like that.
We're just talking about these public signs.
We're only talking about the airport.
Personally, I mean, I actually was surprised that the 60 isn't more than that. And it seems like maybe an opportunity to keep things looking modern at a modern airport. Personally, I think I'd be in favor of that. If you're gonna do it, just do it right.
I would second that because my preference is the 60. I don't know. I'm a little nervous about fancy brand awareness. I don't know what that means, but I think 60,000, to just crank up the game a little bit and allow some welcoming signage. I think that makes a lot of sense.
I'd like to see what they propose too, before we go any further.
Okay.
It seems like you have a lot of space on the signs already. Did I hear you mention that you currently charge for?
Yeah, when like a new tenant comes to the airport and they want to be placed on that sign, there is like an advertising charge that is the cost of replacing that panel, plus an administrative overhead.
Do they all do it, or are there some that avoid it because of the cost,
There are so few people that come to us these days to get onto a sign
Yeah.
that it's hard to say if it's been rejected or not.
that case,
Yeah, right.
maybe that changes the equation.
Okay,
what would be wrong with the airport putting those signs on there and just doing it in order to encourage better situational awareness and showing that there's tenants there and that kind of thing. I don't know that.
would you say that and this isn't necessarily just for you, but like, would you say the location of those signs is appropriate? Like, do you feel that those locations of the signs should be located elsewhere? Would they be more beneficial somewhere else?
I leave that to you guys. I think. I mean, the ones up on that north, I don't know what that street's called. I don't know. I don't know how many people even come in that way, but up by the tanker base and that kind of thing. But I think certainly by the main entrance into the airport and as you get down into that four-way stop, but in that area, I think it starts to become a little bit more.
Burns Pub probably is a little overkill, don't you think, out there?
I will say, when I'm using this word fancy, maybe not great, think of like the way all the signs look today, looking like the general facility sign coming into the airport. So rather than just being like the maroon, brown, concrete tubes and like the panel signs, think of them all as like being more like that, or like that. That's generally what I'm thinking about when I say more fancy brand aware. So like, rather than just having the general brown, would that be better? So like, that's obviously not in the 36 or 60,000 cost quotes, but like, would that be something more appealing or useful? That's the question.
Seems to me in this day and age of GPS, the real purpose of these signs is to make the airport look classier. Because if I'm looking for Signature Aviation, I've got it on my GPS. That's how I'm finding my way. I don't know. And classier is what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, if the ultimate goal of the signs is a modern day art piece to build that atmosphere, then all of them like that would probably be that fitting. If we're just trying to spruce them up so they don't have that brown appearance today, then that 36,000 is probably fine. If we're looking at kind of a more wholesale change, but not as that fancy brick, then that 60,000 is kind of that price point. I like that the cost is an issue, but not necessarily the controlling factor here. My main personal question is do they serve a purpose other than art? To me, it's all, I have a phone, I have the location, I know where I'm going generally. So like, I don't necessarily need street signs. In fact, sometimes street signs that make it worse.
Well, you may know how to find what you're looking for, but I do think it's informational in terms of telling you what else is available at the airport and what other businesses exist that you may not have punched into your Google Maps. But so I mean,
I think the signs are important.
yeah, I'm in favor of them. I think they're important. I think that for me, the 60,000 price point seems reasonable. I do think that discussion about, I mean, if you're just going to put them up and they're going to be half empty and still be half empty, I'm not sure that I see the point of that. And I almost wonder if the airport just takes the initiative to get those signs up when somebody signs on as a tenant. Put the sign up, but that's just me.
No, that makes sense. Okay. I don't have any other discussions unless you guys don't have any more questions. And if we have more stuff, we can bring it back to you. Okay. A little bit ago, we talked about the FAA Flight Training Remonetization Act. And so like, because there's another public comment period out there, something else, we talked about NCAR, we talked about flight training. We're going to talk about AIP Handbook Order 5138E. This is going to be something generally most people won't care about, but there is public comment available. So let's talk about AIP Handbook. This order is what guides what projects on an airport are AIP eligible and how the FAA would go about prioritizing eligible projects. So not every project on airport is eligible for FAA funds. And even those projects that are eligible may compete poorly against other projects. And so this FAA order says, these are the kind of projects the FAA is prioritizing, these are the kind of projects the FAA is deprioritizing, and these are the kind of projects the FAA has basically said, don't even come to us, we're not going to fund those things. This is a pretty holistic change to the FAA handbook. It is significantly different in its layout, its configuration, and how it approaches the problem of advising what it's trying to do. Next. About 30 different publications are being merged into this order. Several US laws that apply to the AIP program are being merged into this order. The use of the order is a mandatory issue for the ADO offices. This is not an airport book, it's a book the FAA uses to tell airports how projects can be funded. So broadly, it's applicable to information that has been moved out of it and onto the FAA website, try to make it more user-friendly. I would say it looks vaguely familiar to previous versions, but it is very vastly different in some other different ways. It is you just have to look at it. It's just different. It's different than any other FAA order that exists. Maybe the future FAA orders will look more like it, but the way the FAA conveys information in this order is just different. Next slide. The FAA is asking for public comment on this order. The public comment is due August 17th. And then there is the website here where you can look at the FAA draft order, look at how it is laid out. The FAA does kind of have a breakdown now of what's different in the FAA order, the FAA AIP order than before. But when I made the slide, there wasn't. And so hopefully today there's more information about it than there was when the slide was created. That's kind of it. It's a FAA order that applies mostly to the FAA, but impacts us in some material ways. It may be prudent to read it or not, but it is something that I go to sleep with every night, so I can go to fall asleep.
What the hell? It's only 300 pages.
It is not short, but it is, I would say it is more concise than previous FAA orders in this regard. It actually adds pretty good context about FAA decision-making and how the FAA is making its decisions on priority. And so in that way, it is a superior product than the past, but it is different. And so public comments are available. August 17th is the deadline to provide comments. That's it.
No questions. Okay. I and Cindy will try and run through our updates pretty quick because I know we have a special guest at the end who's going to provide the litigation update. So tell me to slow down or ask questions, but I'll try and fly through mine. Kilo and Delta project should wrap up probably in about 30 days. If you're flying out of this airport, you know that 30 left is kind of closed for the duration of this month and a little bit further on. Contractors hoping to wrap that up as soon as possible. Then we'll move on to the second phase of Delta. That project was out to bid. It's now been awarded. We're working through the final steps there, but we should be able to start construction on that shortly after the first phase finishes. So look for another closure on 30 left later this year for about a month. The Southwest Development RFP is still out for solicitation. We responded to the questions we received, and those are on the BidNet website. Ultimately, proposals are due October 15th, but if you're interested in development, if you want to see the airport's answers to questions from developers, those are on the BidNet website. One exciting piece of news that I think we shared via Constant Contact, social media, and Jet Aviation and BA Group also publicized their own press release, as well as us, is that the Jet Aviation is the new FBO planning to come to the south side of the field. Hopefully opening up in 2028. And so they're committed to build a 7,500 square foot FBO facility and a 70,000 square foot hangar as the first phase of their development. So we've been on the works on that for a little while, but finally kind of announced that FBO. In terms of other airport planning projects, we're currently underway with a leasehold utilization and use analysis. This is a kind of a cool project that we're overlooking. We're looking at how leases are laid out on the field. We are hoping to bring that to the Airport Advisory Board as a future presentation, because I think it will be interesting for anyone who's attended here in terms of how we've laid out leases on this field and how it impacts taxiway design groups and access around the field. The Par 150 airport noise study, as we've mentioned in previous communications, we're a little disappointed about the slide and schedule, but we did hear back from the FAA that we need to shift to use that 2025 operational data. The FAA's position is that that is required per their legislation to use the most recent data that's available, and it's available, and therefore we should use it. We are trying to project a recovery, and we have approval from the FAA to reflect that we're recovering back to the period of 2024 operations within that first couple of years, so that 2031 forecast will not have artificially low numbers or suppressed numbers. We think that'll reflect kind of a true accounting of operations.
I think it's important, if at all possible, for you to reiterate for the audience here tonight and possibly communicate better to the general public that the FAA is in the driver's seat for this 150 study, and you have absolutely no control over what data they choose to use.
Yeah, thanks for that acknowledgement. And that's what I say, we play by the FAA's rules on this study, and that's very much true and very much proven out lately. All right, turn over to Sydney.
Okay. So Jeffco has launched a tool that will aid us in our efforts to engage with airport stakeholders. It's called Your Jeffco, and we will use this to collect our noise reports and other general airport inquiries. It's the same information that we currently have on our current form, just a different platform. It's going to provide for the user real-time status updates, dashboards, and reporting. And then we have a video that Ben will play that will show how to use it.
Bear with me.
And it will work.
Appreciate the vote.
So this changeover from our current system to this new platform happens tomorrow. We'll post all the information. We'll send it out in constant contact. It'll be accessible on our website, very clear. If there's any questions, please let me know. But same information, just different platform. Moving on to our RMMA Roadshow. So this summer, our team is hitting the road as part of our roadshow, bringing the airport into different communities through public tours, event booths, parades, and airport events. We're hoping to just continue to increase our building trust, increasing transparency, and strengthening relationships. So far, we've done our Kite Festival and the Louisville Touch a Truck. We have events in Westminster, Broomfield. We're looking in Lafayette. We're excited about being in the community. We launched our public tour program in May. Tours are approximately 1 hour long and begin at 2 p.m. on the second Wednesday of each month. Each tour includes a brief presentation in this room, followed by a guided bus tour of the airfield. We just upped our space to 8 participants. So when I made this slide, we were doing 6, but now we do 8. And the registration link goes live 2 weeks before the tour, and that's shared on Constant Contact and social media. We have a lot of events coming up in this next month. So the Rocky Mountain Car Show and Swap Meet is July 25th. That information is there, and we're also posting that. We have our quarterly town hall on July 30th from 4:30 to 6 p.m. And then the Mile High 150 Expo is August 1st from 4 to 10. That information, they have a website, and we're posting about that on our sites as well. The last thing that I want to share with you is the FAA response to the June 2025 flight path change. So RMMA sent a letter to the FAA in December of 2025 asking questions that were originally asked by the Northwest Mayors and Commissioners Coalition about the flight path changes that happened in June 2025. The FAA replied last month, June of 2026, saying that the change was made to address safety concerns. In the letter, the FAA reported safety improvements since implementing those the flight path change. They said a 48% reduction in PSEs, a 44% reduction in runway incursions. Next slide. The FAA states that the current airspace is operating at an acceptable level of safety. It also stated it is satisfied with the airport's current actions and is not aware of additional measures the airport could take to enhance safety. The FAA also stated in the letter that there was not time for advanced public briefings when we asked why communities were not notified before the change in June 2025. This is a timeline that shows the events that happened when the new arrival and departure procedures were implemented, through when we asked, through when we were engaging, through when they responded in June of 2026. To read the full letters, the one that we sent, the one from the Mayor's Coalition, and also the one back from, next slide, the FAA, you can visit our transparency portal. Those are all listed there under operational documents. And then my last slide is the Airport Advisory Board application. So Jefferson County is accepting applications for boards and commissions until end of day, July 28th. So this board has 1 vacant position and 2 positions due for appointment or reappointment. The application form is available through the Jeffco Board Manager webpage. So if you go to Jeffco's website and then I want to down to board or committee, then you can find the application there.
I'll just know, I'll follow up with the members who need to reapply if they want to be, serve on the board going forward.
And then next, I think Eric, we'll send to Eric, or do you?
We have Eric Butler with us online. He's the deputy county attorney, and he's going to give a litigation update.
Can everybody hear me?
Good to go, Eric.
All right. Well, as Anthony said, I'm Eric Butler. I'm an attorney with the county attorney's office, and we wanted to provide you with an update on litigation that is pending against the county that involves airport operations. And I wanted to say at the outset, we're doing this in open session as a status update. So we're not going to be providing legal advice or evaluation regarding those cases today. That means I won't be discussing litigation strategy, and I can't answer questions about the implications of that litigation for the airport. There are a couple of cases I'll talk about. The first one I'll refer to as the injunction case, and the second one as the homeowner's case. The injunction case is a lawsuit that was brought by the town of Superior and Boulder County. In that case, those local governments seek an injunction to limit touch and go operations at the airport. The trial court dismissed that case and it found that federal law preempts a state court's ability to enjoin aircraft operations. Superior and Boulder County appealed that decision. The Court of Appeals affirmed the decision in part. It found that the state courts can't enjoin aircraft operations based on noise concerns. But it remanded the case back to the trial court to reconsider the issue of whether state courts can enjoin operations based on emissions issues. So Superior and Boulder County have now asked the Colorado Supreme Court to review that Court of Appeals decision. It doesn't have to do that. Jefferson County opposes that request by Superior and Boulder County, but it has also asked the Supreme Court to review the decision to remand the emissions matter. At this point, the parties are still briefing those issues before the Supreme Court, and we may not know for some time whether it will even accept the matter for review. But while that's pending at the Supreme Court, nothing will happen at the trial court level in the injunction case. Now, the homeowner's case is the lawsuit brought by the owners of 241 homes in the Rock Creek subdivision. And they claim that the impact of aircraft operations has essentially taken a portion of their property rights. It's what's called an inverse condemnation action. And they are seeking damages based on that alleged taking. In that case, we are currently in what's called the discovery process. So the parties are exchanging information that they might use at trial. The parties have agreed to split the trial process into two parts. The first part will be a trial to the judge to determine, has there been a taking of property at all? And additionally, the parties are going to do that with 34 homeowners. That trial is set for June of 2027, so about a year from now. And we anticipate that trial will take 2 to 3 weeks. If the judge decides that there was a taking that's compensable, then there will be a second trial in front of a jury to determine the damages. That trial would be a while later, maybe a year after the first trial, to allow additional discovery on damages. So that's all I have for you this evening. I don't anticipate any final decision in either of those cases in the near future. Thanks all.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Good. No questions. Well, perfect. Thank you, Eric.
Thanks again.
All right, is that everything?
That's it.
All right, I have the 12th of August for our next meeting. Is that accurate?
Yep.
I am available. So it looks like hopefully looks like we should have a quorum. So we'll go ahead and pencil in the 12th of August for our next meeting. And we'll see everyone there. Adjourn. All right, I have a motion to adjourn. And second. Sorry. All right, all in favor? Any opposed to adjourn? Hearing none, we are adjourned at 6:09.